The Deadly Swarm is a 2024 horror film directed and written by David Gregory, and we have a cast including Leona Clarke, Elliott Eason, Richard Kovacs, John Kerr, Osian Dixon, Christabel Clarke, Connor Powles, May Kelly, and David Gregory. And the film is about a group of friends who go to this medical trial retreat, and they meet Dr. Feldman, who is trying to come up with this cure for this deadly condition. And this involves flies, and I'll say no more than that. But I will say the fly aspect sounded like it would be very scary. I don't like flies, I don't like insects, I don't like anything that buzzes. And I thought that could really appeal to me for a concept of a horror film. It sounded like it could be really interesting, but honestly, there wasn't really anything deadly about it. I wouldn't exactly say there was a swarm. It really didn't lean into that part of it. And in some ways, the story could have even been told without the whole fly aspect. They would have had to have made a few small changes to the narrative, but it still would have worked as a concept without the flies, so they definitely didn't do anything with that at all. The narrative itself is an interesting concept, but it's not very well executed. It doesn't really offer anything, and I found most of the characters to be really boring, and I found Dr. Feldman to be very, very, very irritating. I did not care for him at all, and obviously he's central to the story, so he's in it quite a lot. They're all in it quite a lot because they're obviously staying at this small location and we spend most of the time there. And I will say that never got stale. Credit where it's due. I never felt like the location itself was getting stale. And there were a few moments that were maybe sickly, where characters are coughing and sweating. It's not scary, but it did make me feel uneasy. So there were a couple of times when I did have some kind of emotional response to it, but in general, the narrative's very weak. It's not a scary film. The performances are good, but the characters are not. And the location does work. That part of it does work. The lighting's fine, the music's fine, the camera works fine, all of that's okay. But the narrative is very poorly executed. The characters are either annoyingly written with regards to Dr. Feldman, or just boring. For the most part, not interesting. I didn't care about any of them at all. And the horror aspect isn't there, really. So The Deadly Swarm had potential. It's an interesting idea, but unfortunately, it's not a very good film.